of Queens.
7 types of queens that kings desire.
So, I don't know if anybody in the audience may or may not recognize me. They know I'm kind of a romance man. So I'm going to ask you about 7 types of queens. So what inspired you to write 7 types of queens, Mr. Dorival?
The 7 types of queens. Oh, great question, Mr. Brandon.
Brandon Robinson.
Mr. Robinson, he put me on the spot. What made me write this book was the fact that I wanted to change the outlook or perspective that a lot of females these days have of themselves, of this generation. If you notice social media, television, there's also some sort of negative view of especially black women with these reality TV shows. So that's what kind of sparked me to write it, and also relationships. You know, I'm 35, I've had a couple of relationships, a few great ones, and many horrible ones. No fault of theirs, you know, it takes two, so I'm also a culprit of that. But in those experiences, you know, I asked myself, okay, so I'm King Kevin, every king needs a queen. So what kind of woman would I desire? So I started to write a list, because years ago, I spoke with a lady on the phone that was a customer service, and she just asked me, you know, was I single? And, you know, she was married, but she asked me, was I single? And I told her, yes, I'm single. And she said, are you looking for a wife? And I said, one day, but not now. But she said, okay, well, when you get serious, you know, take the time, write down a list of everything you want in a woman. So I've had this list for like 7 years now.
Okay.
So I used that to write the book. So I'm hoping to get on Oprah with it. Yes.
So let's hear about your other book, Courage to Believe. What inspired you?
So I mean, to write that book, oh man, it's just, my life is testimony itself. I mean, there's so many different things that I had to face, coming from an impoverished community. I caught a charge at one time, a couple of cases actually. I used to be a hot boy, believe it or not. Even though I look as sharp and handsome today, it was not always the case. And also, a special thanks to Mr. Harold Fashion Shop. He sponsored this nice suit that you see here today. He has a shop there on University and Oakland area. So this is being the theme of today's show program is economic empowerment, the road to economic power. So I truly believe that we have to support black businesses, so please support his shop. You can go to my website, get more information of where to find his location. But I wrote the book because I wanted to be a mentor and to help guide other young men on how to avoid the things that I had to go through. You know, being that my father was never there, my mom was a working hard, single mother, a woman of God. The fact that I was almost killed a couple of times. I talk about that in the book. So yeah, it's definitely an eye-opener. And the fact that I overcame those things to graduate college, start a couple of businesses, I figured if I figured out a way, since I did figure out a way to be successful and overcome that adversity, I could help thousands, perhaps even millions of others do the same thing.
Okay, being a black-on-black crime panel right now, let's say there's that one youth, that one teenage black, male or female, doesn't matter,
Right.
that one kid who is really lost and really feels like they need direction. If you only had one moment to meet that person, one moment to speak with that person, and you can easily tell that they feel like there is no way out, like black-on-black crime or even racism was just dominating their life, and they felt hopeless, what would you say to that teenager?
I would tell them to keep their head up and keep your eyes on the prize. No matter what it looks like, there's always a way out. I myself was one of those people that seen life as being hopeless. Like there was no point of moving forward because there's so many people trying to discourage me. But there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. I know that's a cliche, but to be honest with you, if we do not change the way a lot of our youth sees the future, and they only see a tiny hole instead of seeing open doors for them to actually be successful and to venture out to be entrepreneurs or to be doctors and lawyers or whatever the case may be, then we have a very scary future for future generations. Today, we stand on tall shoulders. You're talking about from Queen Nzinga, Toussaint Louverture, Harriet Tubman, who they say they're trying to make a $20 bill. I don't know if that's official or not, but I've been hearing things about it. We have Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey. We stand on very tall shoulders, but what are we leaving for the future generation? You know what I mean? So to a student like that, that's struggling, definitely keep your head up, stay in the fight, don't give up no matter what it looks like, you know? And when you catch yourself looking down, just look up anyway and point to God and just say, thank God, you know? because I believe in thanking God in advance. Appreciate it.
All right. I know Brandon was put on the spot with a whole bunch of questions, but I just got one more.
Yes.
Who was or what was that inspiration that got you out of what you said? You grew up in a bad, you had a bad life, begin with. What brought you out?
Oh man, then who put y'all to this? Miss Baker?
No.
I'm joking. Great question. There's a couple of actually 3 powerful women that were pillars of my life. One, my mother, may she rest in peace. She never gave up on me, even when I gave up on myself. And there was my 5th grade teacher. Earlier when you guys read my bio, you mentioned that I was on the front cover of some Sentinel. And the reason why I was on that cover, me and a friend of mine was having a discussion about my 5th grade teacher because she read the book. And she said, were you able to catch this teacher who inspired you so much in the 5th grade to actually put your mind in the future, which is Mrs. Weich. And Mrs. Weich, I couldn't find her until I ended up on Facebook and was looking for anybody with that same last name. So I ended up messaging everybody with that last name until one lady replied, and that was her daughter. I didn't know she had a daughter. So the daughter connected me with Mrs. Weich, and Mrs. Weich called me, so we wrote a press release about it, saying that a student finds teacher 20 years later to say thank you. So I had her come in for my book signing. We had it right here at African Research Library, and book signing, and she was sitting in the front. I had to come up stage and gave her a dozen roses to tell her thank you and everything, and she definitely played a huge role. And there was one more woman named Mrs. Bird, who is now Mrs. Livingston. She's married now. When I was in college, my junior year was a very serious year. You ever watch 48 Hours? You ever watch that show? Well, I was one of the individuals on one of those tables, and in the midst of seeing my dreams come true, graduating college, I'm sitting here in the interrogation room, being accused of something. And Mrs. Bird, I found refuge in, speaking and talking with her throughout the year. So I told her the situation, and she just told me, son, no matter what happens, make sure every day you find a way to get in those classrooms, because if you're able to get in those classrooms every day to study, take notes, and pass these tests, then once you get your degree, then can nobody take that away from you. Let them do what they're doing. You just let God do His thing, and you do your thing. And that's what I did, and I owe her a lot. Great question. Now it's time for rapid fire. You guys ready or what? Yes. All right, let's do it. What you guys do the honor? Go ahead.